there, and welcome to Draw With Me. I'm Danny Gregory. It's Thursday, and it's time to do some drawing. Well, today actually we're going to be doing some drawing of letters. Hope that's okay with you. If you don't want to draw letters, you can draw something else. Draw whatever you'd like. But we are going to be having fun drawing letters. That's not calligraphy. It's drawing letters. We'll see if that makes any difference. Particularly if you're not a calligrapher like me. Not a calligrapher. Drawer. Still struggling with that word. What is the word for somebody who draws? A drawer, a draftsman, a sketcher. Drawer. Drawer is like where you keep your gun next to the bed. So I am, if I look different, that's because I'm alone here in the house, except for Twiglet, because JJ is not here, so I can do whatever I want, and I have been. Been sitting at my desk. I ate some candy, and I don't know, hasn't been that much else, but I see that JJ is here, and she is rebuking me all the way from Portland, so that's good. I feel complete now. JJ, you complete me. Thank you so much for sharing your gratitude journals, your gratitude pages. It was so nice to see all the reasons that you're grateful. It was also nice to see that Sketchbook School was often one of the reasons. But it was just nice to see all the different versions of gratitude. The way that you expressed it and the things that you're grateful for was so nice. Thank you for doing that. See, Ken calls it a draftsperson. A draftsperson is really, I'm not a draftsperson. A draftsperson like has a green visor sitting at an angled table, with one of those desk lamps. That's a draftsperson. I'm a drawer. Anyway, doesn't matter. Well, good. So it is. I have a few minor announcements to make, and then we will plunge into what I hope will be fun, because if you love words as I do, that's what this is going to be about today. So whatever you want to do your word making with, you could use any implement, and we'll discuss those in a minute. But let's just get on to a few things that we have to talk about. So I want to talk about the Fresh Gouache Workshop. It is coming up December 10th, 9 days away. Which means that if you sign up today, you can still get some gouache. If you don't have some gouache, don't worry about it. It's going to be a fantastic workshop. Jimmy Leslie, who is teaching it, is a fantastic artist who comes from kind of a background as an oil painter, as an acrylic painter, but now works in a sketchbook in gouache. So you can see how you can get really beautiful painterly effects with gouache. I mean, they're on the thumbnail. You can see an example of it. Really beautiful, and also how different it is from watercolor, and it's going to be really fun. I'm glad to see that baby cheeses is excited. I'm glad that we have gotten you excited. Thistle is in the middle of doing gouache right now, and everybody else is talking about the weather. So good. I'm glad that you are thinking about joining us for that podcast. You know what? I didn't release an episode of the podcast this week. Why? Because I was still deeply intoxicated by tryptophan and unable to clamber off the couch and upload one. But I have one coming next week that's going to make up for it. And we have several to follow. But in the meantime, Miriam Schulman, her episode is still there. If you haven't listened to it, please do. I think you'll enjoy her kind of her view about how we can empower ourselves as artists, which is very useful, particularly if you don't think of yourself as an artist and if you don't think of yourself as having the right to be one. She will help you through that. It's going to be really great. My friends at Hahnemühle, today we are going to be using the hand lettering pad. Seems appropriate, right? I really like this paper. You will see me using it whenever we do calligraphy stuff. It's I think better than Bristol. It is a tasty kind of sort of smooth paper that you can use ink on. You can use watercolor on, not watercolor, ink, pencil, various things. But when it comes to doing lettering, often lettering that I will then reproduce in my books or online, this is the basis that I use a lot of the time. And it is kind of replaced Bristol, but I still like Bristol. But and Hahnemühle makes Bristol too. Winsor Newton, the Promarker watercolor. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using it. No, actually, I have one. I probably will be bringing it in, but we will be giving away. Let me back up. See, JJ, this is why I need you here. We will be. Let me back up to the Hahnemühle one because we are going to be giving away 3 hand lettering pads, 11 by 16, nice and big, way bigger than the one I have. Come to think of it. Yeah, so we're going to give 3 away, and as JJ says, they are rad. See, she's in Portland, and she's already using that kind of like Portland. I think of rad as being a Portland word. Am I wrong? Probably. Yes, so if you'd like one, all you have to do is write to info@sketchbookschool.com and send us your U.S. mailing address, and we'll be giving away 3 of them to among the people who write to us. And of course, okay, now let's move on to the Winsor Newton watercolors, Promarker watercolors. We're going to be giving away a set of those, and similar deal. Write to us. Tell us why you like them. Why that sounds intriguing. Why would you want them? And we will add your name to the hat. Is it a hat? Might be a bowl. Might be a Sketchbook School mug. Might be from the Sketchbook School dinnerware line. I don't know. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to be doing next, which is to get a piece of paper and get some kind of a writing implement. What do you want to use? You could use a dip pen. You could use some ink. You could use a pencil. You could use a brush. You could use one of those calligraphy markers. Not a big fan of those, but you know, pick your implement, and you might want to change it up. I think I'm going to rattle through a whole bunch of different ones. I want to kind of work on a page where I just experiment. I don't know. We'll see whether this is actually going to be like a nice sort of finished piece looking thing, or if it'll just be an experiment with just how can we have fun with letters? How can we make them expressive? So, if you've ever seen before, you know it's kind of a little random, a little of a higgledy-piggledy. So let's see. Garrett asks, do the letters we draw have to be English, or they can be from other alphabets? Well, seeing as I'm going to come to your house and check your work, they better be in English. Of course, they can be whatever you want. We're just trying to, I think I like the idea, if you'll indulge me, of thinking of lettering as drawing, right? In fact, that's what I often say to people, you know, people who say I can't draw. I say, well, your handwriting, your signature, your autograph, as it were, is a drawing in a way, right? And so similarly, think about writing your letters using some of the skills that we use for drawing, and vice versa. You know, Jen Cahill is a fan of calligraphy markers. Yeah, good on you. I don't know. I don't think that they're a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. You know what they are, right? They have kind of like a wedge tip where one side is flat and one side is broad and one side is narrow. But for some reason, every time I use them, I'm really unhappy with the letters that I make. I don't know. So brush pen is another thing you could bring up also. So I see you people are still arguing about sewists. Sewists. Yes. What about tailor? Are those people who sew aren't really tailors? I don't know. Here we go. So I'm going to put up a word on the screen. I'm going to rattle through. I have a list of about 20, but we're not going to go through all those. I think we're going to go through a dozen probably. And we're going to have fun with them. Here we go. Here's my first word, crepuscular. Crepuscular. I feel like this is a spelling bee. Crepuscular. Do you know what crepuscular means? Does anybody know what crepuscular means? It's a great word. I love the sound of it. Crepuscular. Crepuscular. So I'm going to start with, I just pulled this out of the closet. It's a new nib. Not a new nib, it's a new pen holder from Tachikawa. And it has this nice rubbery thing. It has, I don't know if you can see it here, it has these circles. So rather than the little petals, it has circles that grip onto my nib. This is a Zebra G nib. Crepuscular. Can you have it in a sentence? Well, that would ruin it. Figure it out. Crepuscular. Oh, Fran's using the same one. Yeah, it's cute too. They come in, I think, different colors too. Crepuscular. So see what you can do to make it interesting. You know, unlike traditional calligraphy, I don't sort of rule lines and try and keep everything regular. I think it's just, you know, where do you feel like taking it? What I love about using a dip pen to do this is that you get this, you know, these incredible variations in your line. And also I put it up on the screen because it's so easy to get into lettering and then go, oh no, I left out a letter. Whoops. Or, oh no, I misspelled it. Imagine there's nothing a little pathetic than having artfully lettered thing and then you misspelled it. Done it. Been there. So having it up on screen to look at will be helpful. I also used the usual font that I use when I make these things, when I do videos, it is called, what is it, Untitled Sans? Anyway, it's a very kind of unembellished font. So it doesn't sort of influence my lettering. All right, so that's a fairly typical way that I do this kind of thing. Crepuscular. Has anybody come up with it yet? Richard Davis is complaining that I take too long. This is a 12-minute video and you don't get to the topic for 5 minutes. It's not a 12-minute video, Richard Davis. Richard is complaining about how long it takes to get around to things. It's actually going to be probably like a 60-minute video. So then you're going to look back and you go, you know what? He got to the topic right away. But of course, I always tell you what the topic is in the description. So if you're not interested, alas, I will see you later. So crepuscular meaning, well, Grace says it means twilight. It actually means somebody who's active at dawn or dusk. So like an animal that's active at dawn or dusk. So crepuscular. Yes, so it's like, you know, if you, like I guess like an owl might be crepuscular. It doesn't sound like that though, but a lot of people are saying that it has to do with twilight. So yes, Nosferatu probably is crepuscular. Yes. So all right, let's move on from crepuscular to, let's just find another word. What about will this work? Crepuscular. How about egregious? But I'm going to change from not that there was anything egregious about what I just used, but I'm going to try and see what it's like to use something else. Another implement. So I'm going to clean off my pen, washing the India ink off it. So, because I might come back to that dip dip pen. See how I feel about other things. But egregious. So I'm going to use a brush pen here. See how that works. So can you guys hear snoring in the background? That's not Richard Davis. That is Twiglet sound asleep in the background. Yeah, egregious. So, I almost inadvertently dipped my brush pen into India ink. I wonder what that would be like. Probably not very good. So do you know what egregious means? Without Googling it? Have you used it recently? Egregious. There's so many great words in the English language. I mean, did you see what the word of the year was this year? You know how every year I forget who it is. Is it some authority body comes up with a word for the word of the year? And I was frankly disappointed in this year's word. Did anybody see what it was? So anyway, I've done this the brush pen. It's okay, but I'm thinking I'm going to go in now with just a fine liner. Maybe do a little bit of zhuzhing with it. But yeah, did anybody see what it was? Hugely? No, it wasn't. Thank God. We're done with that word. We're done with the egregious use of that word. Gaslighting. That was the word, gaslighting. Yeah. Is that really that word of 2022? Gaslighting? Wow. I don't think so. How about inflation? Maybe that should be the word. Gaslighting. I mean, first of all, it's not even a new word. It was a movie like 50 years ago. But yeah, gaslighting. Okay, so that's egregious. Let's move on to, what should we move on to? Perspicacious. Perspicacious. Are you perspicacious? Have you... I think I'm going to switch to a pencil. Perspicacious. Are you perspicacious? Being perspicacious is helpful if you're an artist, I think. I think that's one of the key skills that an artist needs. It's nice writing with a pencil. I don't do it very often. Although it keeps kicking off lead. Feels nice on the paper, though. Puvandran, my unmatched perspicacity coupled with my sheer indefatigability makes me a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. I like it. I like it. And it's funny because indefatigable was actually one of my words. It might still show up. But thank you for putting it into context. perspicacious. Okay, gosh, I really was sure I'd started adding like too many letters. Boy, that pug is snoring back there. I left out the O. Fortunately, there's room to sneak one in there. Archaic art had ragamuffin. Ragamuffin was that on my list? No, I have a cousin of ragamuffin coming up. So, all right. Next. You ready for your next word? Thimble fanble. Do you know what thimble fanble is? It's a great word, thimble fanble. It's sort of a Dickensian word, I would say. No? Thimble fanble. Oh, you know what I'm going to show you? This is not speaking of thimble famblery. Maybe I'll save this for... I have another word that might be more appropriate for what I was going to show you. But no, I'll show it to you now. I got this pen. So I did this workshop last week, and the people who put it together gave me this pen. I don't know if you can see it. If you can see what's so amazing about it. So this is a nib. It's a pen nib. Hear that satisfying. It is a pen nib that is brass, and it is like a bullet with all these different slots in it. I'm just starting to learn how to use it, but it is it is made by a company called Kakamori, and it came in this special box. Kakamori, and they brass and stainless steel. And what is great about it, among other things, is it holds an enormous amount of ink. So you dip it in, and it holds. I mean, we'll see. I bet you I can write thimble famble. The question is, can I write it nicely? So the thing about it is, you get a lot of ink into it, so you don't need to re-dip it. You might be saying to yourself, yeah, but it seems kind of fat. But you can also get pretty thin lines with it. And you can get really fat ones too. But you can definitely get variation in it. So thimble famble. Thimble famble means like a lame excuse. Oh, don't give me your thimble famble. Just the fact that you're using a brand new nib you've never used before. We expect perfect lettering from you. But sir, it's a Japanese nib and I'm not writing in Japanese. Don't give me your thimble famble. Yeah, it's a nice line. So yeah, and it's still got ink in it, so that's pretty good. Thimble famble. I think I'm going to go back to the old dip pen. So yeah, thimble famble. Are you ready for? Oh, this is a great word. I'm very fond of this one. In fact, I consider myself to be ambibulus. How about you? Are you ambibulus? Ambibulus. Think about it. Did you study Latin? I did. Only 1 year. It was enough. But I have to say, it has been relatively useful. Ambibulus. What do you think it means? Like omni, or omnivorous, ambibulus. This reminds me, a couple years ago when I had this idea that I should learn Spanish. And so I got an app on my phone, and it would ping you periodically and remind you, hey, don't forget to study Spanish. And then it would give you a little kind of, vocabulary thing. And it was sort of interesting. I mean, but I felt like I was putting in a fair amount of work, and I wasn't sure whether I was learning anything that was particularly useful. And it all kind of came to a head when it gave me this word, it gave me a sentence, La pinguina bebe leche, which means the penguin drinks milk. I was like, really? Like, when is that ever going to come up? A. B, in Spanish, and C, penguins don't drink milk. So what are you talking about? So that kind of ended it for me. All right. So ambibulus means that you drink everything. They drink everything. Not sure why that came about as a word. What would you like to order? Said the bartender. I don't care. I'm ambibulus. Just give me whatever's at hand. Ambibulus. What else? So, Biz, you're agreeing with me, right? No, you've never had to use that sentence, right? Yeah, it wasn't though, because they translated it. Caroline's saying maybe Pipinguina was the name of a human baby. Yeah, I know, but it said La Pinguina. Oh, I see, Pipinguina. But again, confusing. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to learn Spanish because of that. It was a perfect excuse. So now I don't speak Spanish unless I run into a thirsty, lactose tolerant penguin. So if I'm ever on like say I'm down in Argentina, right? And I'm heading towards the South Pole, and somebody finds an orphan penguin, and they say, oh no, what are we going to do? How are we going to look after this penguin? And I'll say, La pinguina bebe leche. They'll say, okay. And then they'll feed the penguin milk, and that probably won't go well. So maybe I should just keep my mouth shut. All right, this is a great word coming up. Ready? This is a good one. Snollygoster. Bite into that one. I think I'm going to stick with this dip pen because honestly, I just, there's no love like an old familiar love. Snollygoster. Do you know that word? Does it sound familiar? Snollygoster. Don't look for its meaning it's not like ambibulus where you can kind of figure it out. Snollygoster. It sounds to me again like a sort of Victorian thing. Think about Dickens. How many words Dickens made up, and how have you? I hope you've read something by Dickens. If you haven't, it's so entertaining, You might have read like one of his worst books, which I did, which was A Tale of Two Cities in high school. Yeah, no, that's not Dickens. Bleak House. Bleak House even has human spontaneous combustion as part of the story. It's an incredible book. But anyway, the names of his characters, Snollygoster would be a great name for one of his characters. Snollygoster. seems kind of appropriate for what we've been going through here in the United States recently. Snollygoster refers to a flamboyant, crooked politician. That's a snollygoster. Flamboyant, crooked politician. How come we haven't seen that word in the paper recently? Certainly no shortage of such characters in our public realm. Everywhere in the world, probably true. Not to get political, but it's a great word, and it should be used more. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to cast aspersions on anybody. I'm just saying, use it. You got it. Snollygoster. So yes, well, Grace says it's an unprincipled person, but it's not just an unprincipled person. It's a flamboyant, corrupt person. So it's kind of like, you know what? I'm corrupt, and I'm wearing it. I'm showing it off. So, snollygoster. Good. Well, how are you coming along with this? Are you having fun doing it? I'm interested to see what you do, because what I'm thinking is I might go in after I've done these, and I might zhuzh them up with a little bit of gold. That's right. I'm talking gold ink, gold inker. Remember that movie? James Bond, 1965. Yeah. Thank you, Jen. Jen has noticed my interlinking letters, you see. Yes, it's true. Like here, where you take the cross stroke on the T and you make it into the central bar on the E. Or you take the Y and the G and you have them holding hands. Why not? It's fun. Okay, so here we go. Next word. Ready? This might be a word you know. Postprandial. I think I'm going to switch colored inks. Postprandial. Postprandial. Post, after. Prandial. After after being prandial. Postprandial. I'll give you it in a sentence. I went for a postprandial walk. Puttock. Puttock, that's a good name too. Puttock is a good word. Puttock. Kind of like paddock, puddle, puttock. I like that name. Thank you. Yes, it means after lunch or after breakfast or even after dinner. Mainly after lunch and dinner. So, yeah, postprandial. Prandial. Here, my letters are going to go for a little walk here. Oh, you've woken up? Oh, nice to see you. Twiglet has arisen from her postprandial nap. Had a nice breakfast and slept it off. Postprandial. Okay. Postprandial blood sugar reading for diabetics. Yeah, that's basically what it is. Puttock is a Scottish word for a frog. No kidding. Puttock. All right. Good. So we're learning stuff here today. Who said the draw with me is a waste of time? Richard. Sorry to single out Richard. I'm sure he's long gone by now, but in any case. Okay, here's a word. Borborygmi. Kind of actually related to postprandial. You could say postprandial borborygmi. Totally works. Postprandial borborygmi. What do you think? Could your letters in some way express, could the look of your letters express the meaning of the word? Could be. Shall I try it with borborygmi? I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. I'm trying to think of who I heard it from. Borborygmi, was it? Do you remember Robert Klein, the comedian Robert Klein? He loved language. Oh, George Carlin. It might have been George Carlin. One of the two. George Carlin was great, sort of a language aficionado. I mean, he used language well, but he also, a lot of his comedy was about language. Like his most famous bit was about the words you can't say on TV. But I seem to remember, I think it was Robert Klein who said borborygmi because it was onomatopoeic. It sounded like, the word sounded like what it was. And so borborygmi is the noises that your stomach makes when you're digesting. You know, that thing, borborygmi. It sounds like, you know, your tummy rumbling, whatever it is, whatever's going on there, like your juice is driving around your tummy. That's borborygmi. Presumably the plural of borborygmus. You know, you can go all over YouTube today and you will not find another live streaming show that's talking about borborygmus. In fact, I can guarantee it. And if you do find one, I will give you your money back. Borborygmi. Sounds a bit like pygmy. The pygmy had borborygmi. Kind of little high-pitched borborygmus, maybe, perhaps. Okay. Borborygmi. Let's find another word. Are you ready? How about crackery? Crackery? Do you have a lot of crackery around your house? We used to. We got rid of a lot of it. We purged our crackery in a big postprandial purge. We unloaded the crackery. I like that word. Jim. It would be a good name for a character. Hi, my name is Jim Crackery. Oh, really? Jim Crackery, the Schlockmeister. That's basically what crackery is. It is a word that means sort of tchotchkes, you know, sort of worthless things that you have around. The older you get, the more crackery you seem to. Ingrid coming in with a scathing rebuke. Let me put this up on screen. She says she's learning a lot of English words that she'll never use. Danny stopped learning Spanish because of one useless phrase. Hope he doesn't want to quit watching Draw with me. Thank you. You're absolutely right. And that's why the motto of this show is do as I say, not as I do. Spoken as a former dad. Not a former dad. I'm a current dad. Former dad of a teenager. Or a dad of a former teenager, let's say. Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. It wasn't that it was useless, because I just had put a lot of faith in this app and what it was teaching me. I was like, okay, this app knows what it's doing. And there were times when I was like, really? Is this really right? And then suddenly the lactic penguin just broke my faith. That's all it was. Lack of faith. All right, crackery. Feels, yeah. This R kind of went south on me a bit, but we'll see what happens when it dries. Blue Monster Art, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And yeah. Here we go. Jim Crackery, moving on. From Jim Crackery to codswallop. Why not a little codswallop? Never heard anyone. There seems to be a theme. Some of the words that I like the most are the most codswallopian. Another sort of Dickensian sounding word, right? But it's also, codswallop would be a great name for a character too, I think. 2 L's. Don't forget the second L. And I'm going to pierce the O. Codswallop. That would be a good name. I could imagine that as a name of a company. Codswallop. Hashi's mother always said codswallop. I love that. All right. Very good. Codswallop, the Jim Crackerous language app. Would you like to increase your vocabulary and pack it with codswallopery? Make sure you download it immediately. All right. We're nearing the end of this, I think. I mean, we could continue. I'm going to add one more. I'm going to add, okay, just because this is a word that I like, but I didn't put it onto the list. So I'm just going to do it free form, which is the word hodgepodge. It's not an obscure word, but I just love hodge and podge. Porridge. There's something about that hodge word that I really like. Hodge. And then podge. When I was a boy, I had an alter ego. And it was like, if I was going to be a character, it would be, his name was Roger Watford. As an adult, I look at that name and I think it's kind of stupid. I think Rogers, there's a couple of noteworthy Rogers, but it's not. But I think I just, pug rage. Roger, but I think it was because I like the hodgepodge. Yes. All right. John Patton, in urnam rana est, the frog is in the jar. Yes. The only thing I remember from Latin class, well, I do remember a little bit, but the main thing I remember is memorizing the Lord's Prayer. Pater noster quaes in calis sanctificator nomen tuum, ad venia ad regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua sicut in caelo et in terra pane nostrum quotidianum, da nobis hodie et nobis debita nostris et ne nos debitibus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in temptationem, sed libera nos a malo. And it was a Quaker school. It wasn't Catholic. But yeah. And we learned the Latin, like not the church's version of Latin, but the Roman version of Latin was the way we pronounce things, whatever that means. Yeah. So semper in excretus sum. I am always in shit. Is that what it is? Something like that. Yes, we will not be writing that. Okay. Next, we are going to do the penultimate word. Maybe I should do the penultimate word. No, I was going to do it in gold, but I think that's ostentatious. I think I'll just do it in red instead. So penultimate, a word that honestly everybody knows and or so many people misuse it. They use it as if it meant ultimate, but of course it doesn't mean ultimate. Ultimate meaning the best. Penultimate does not mean the best. It means the second to last. Kind of almost the opposite of the best in a lot of ways, close to not being the best. The people say the penultimate such and such, and you go, well, yeah, but penultimate. Have you heard people misuse it? How do you feel when people misuse words? I mean, what's the most egregious one? Literally. Don't get me started. I literally want to die every time I hear people misuse literally. Literally. It's just used for emphasis. But of course, that's not literally what it means. So I'll say I literally my head exploded. Really? So anyway, so there's penultimate, and that indicates that in fact it is the penultimate word. And what is the final word? Sesquipedalian. Sesquipedalian, which I think is a great word. Probably not a word we use enough, but we've been using it today, or we've been referring to it. Sesquipedalian is a great word also because I don't know if there's a word for this, but it's a word that in and of itself is an example of what the word is. So sesquipedalian means a long word, or somebody who likes long words, right? Oh, irregardless, yes. Irregardless. Don't get me started. I literally will explode irregardless of the consequences. Yes, so sesquipedalian. I'm going to need some room for that one. I think I have to do it all the way down here. Sesquipedalian. It's also, it means a long word, but it also means somebody who uses long words. So if you use sesquipedalian words, you are sesquipedalian. Look, it's so long that it actually stuck over the boundary there. So sesquipedalian is going to be our ultimate word, our final word. The final word, let me have the final word on this matter. It is sesquipedalian. Q, a fun letter to do, but not enough words have Q in it. If you're a Wordle fan, which I'm not a huge Wordle fan, I do Wordle occasionally when I'm sort of really looking to waste time. But I've never used the Q in Wordle. Have you? All right, something's gotten in my nib and it's making a mess. Maybe it's not sesquipedalian. Maybe it's sesquipedalian. Yeah, it probably is. I seem to have given it an H here at the end, so that's unfortunate that the very last letter I drew is kind of not really satisfactory. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is. You end up making Jim Crackery. So, yeah, that's our assignment for today. But now what we could do is, if this was really dry, I could go back in and maybe, just take, should we do it? Should we just do a little bit of gold? Just a little bit. Just a tiny bit of gold, because it's nice and dry up here, so we can do some gold. It's a bit awkward because I am leaning wet ink to do this. But you can do, using gold like this, you can do a sort of more illuminated letter kind of deal, like medieval manuscript might have. So it's not looking great on camera, but this gold needs to be mixed up in a way that I'm not really inclined to do right now. So maybe we can try red instead. Try red instead. Could color things in. We could, hey, no growling back there, please. Oops. Egregious. Anyway, that is not working terribly well for me this morning. So this afternoon, today, would you please mind stopping? That is the stage manager telling me that it's time to wind this up. So go for the gold, yes. Am I dipping them? Yes, they're dip pens. I'm dipping them in bottles of ink. What do I keep the ink in if you do? I keep it in the bottles that it comes in. So, here's a bottle of ink, and it has a hole in the top where you can dip your pen in. So yeah, but also I've kept it in ink wells. I'll keep it in different size things. I also buy it in big jugs and pour it into smaller bottles. I have lots of different things that I use. You kind of get used to it if you do it a lot. You kind of figure out what you want to do, but it is definitely fun, and I strongly encourage you to try it out. So, all right. Thank you for joining me today, and let me just remind you of some things. Fresh gouache. Skool.tiny.us is where you can sign up for it, /fresh. Trust me. Annette wants to know if I'd show this on replay. Yes, it's a recording. You can watch it whenever you want to, over and over if you'd like. Hashtag SBS Draw with me. If you want to share some of your letters or your less egregious but more scrumptious words, please do. Put it on social media and tag it, hashtag SBS Draw with me, and we will share it in the cavalcade of creative extraordinariness at the beginning of the next episode. The Art for All podcast will be back next week. You can watch it here on YouTube. You can also listen to it on the podcast device of your choosing. Danny'sEssays.com. I write an essay every Friday, which is yours for free. Hand typed, not hand lettered, but available to you. And I will email it to you. All you need to do is go there and tell me where you want me to send it. I will not spam you or harass you in any way. I just want to share my thoughts with you. And subscribe to this channel. Why not? If you do, then you will be notified next time we do this, which will also be next week on Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Pacific, is it Standard Time? Daylight Time? Anyway, I'm not sure. But come and join me. And yes, as Chris says, hashtag your images, hashtag SBS Draw with me. That's the way to do it. Thanks again. This was fun. And JJ, if you're still there, I miss you, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.